So tonight I'm going to have ChatGPT join us for a conversation about something that plagues me on a regular basis, and that is called the curse of knowledge. I'm an instructional designer, and one of my responsibilities, actually the primary responsibility of mine, is to take information from subject matter experts or from documentation, dry documentation, and translate it into a way that somebody that doesn't know how to do that task could figure out. And so it often involves breaking information down into consumable chunks, making activities or explanations or use case scenarios that are relatable, and then verifying the knowledge retention of the information through assessments, tests, and different types of exercises and activities. But that initial gain of information, the initial, we call it analysis of source content information to design that instruction, is so often hampered because the subject matter experts that I deal with have this curse of knowledge. ChatGPT, tell me a little bit about what the curse of knowledge is.
The curse of knowledge is a cognitive bias where it's difficult for someone who knows something to imagine what it's like not to know it. This makes it challenging for experts to communicate their knowledge to others who aren't on the same level, because they might skip over fundamental details or use jargon that isn't familiar. It's a common hurdle for instructional designers, as you need to bridge that gap and translate expert knowledge into something accessible and understandable for everyone.
You know, you're quite right when you say that they use jargon, because it's not only jargon, it's acronyms, initializations, abbreviations that get so confusing when you're having to go through information and or talk with a subject matter expert, and they throw these acronyms at you that may have multiple meanings, and they don't even, it's just naturally that acronym naturally means one thing to them, but could mean something completely different to someone else. That's kind of a good example of how curse of knowledge could really hamper communication, isn't it?
Absolutely. Acronyms and jargon can be a real minefield. For experts, it's second nature, but for others, it can feel like deciphering a secret code. That's where instructional designers really shine, translating that complexity into something clear and accessible. It's like being a linguistic detective, making sure no one's left in the dark.
Now, one of the problems I also have is that there's sometimes very relevant fundamental information that isn't provided to me to be able to analyze and add into the instruction. And I'm sure some of the viewers have this sort of experience as well. Of course, maybe not in the world of instructional design, but when they're being told how to do something by someone that has done that task for a very long time, they may skip like the fundamental basics of getting that task just set up and started, because it's so innate to them that it's not even on their mind. Just like maybe safety precautions, something like that, that's so innate to a subject matter expert or a professional or a veteran of doing that task, it doesn't even occur to them that that's something that needs to be done. Can you give me an example or a use case scenario of how someone or an average person might have to deal with a subject matter expert or veteran of a particular task being trained how to do that task, and they may skip over that fundamental information?
Certainly. Imagine someone learning to cook a specific dish from a professional chef. The chef, having done it countless times, might skip mentioning basic safety steps, like how to properly handle a knife. For the novice, this omission could lead to mistakes or even accidents, because what seems obvious to the expert isn't so for the beginner. It's crucial to ensure all foundational steps are clearly communicated, even if they seem like second nature to the expert.
That's why, that's a good point, because this is where common sense gets often misused, and just kind of as a throwaway, like, oh, it's just common sense. Everybody should know these things that we have to do to prepare or how to use knife safety and cooking a dish. Common sense. It's easy, common sense. But that's a problem, I believe, because common sense is not common to people that don't have a deep understanding of the task. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Common sense often assumes a shared understanding or experience, which isn't always the case. What might seem obvious to one person can be entirely new to another, especially if they don't have the same background or experience. It's a reminder that clear, detailed communication is essential, and we can't rely on assumptions about what others might know.
There's another aspect of this that I'd like to address, and that is about fear and intimidation. Particularly from someone like, let's say you are trying to learn how to do this task from this veteran. You're learning to cook this new dish, and you got this master chef that's teaching you, and he just glazes over some of these very basic fundamental safety information or preparatory information, and he may think, he or she may think that, hey, you should know this already, and that really puts a onus on a feeling of intimidation and fear potentially on the person who's learning the new task, because they don't want to appear stupid, they don't want to appear dumb, like they don't know what they're doing in the eyes of this master chef or this person that's been doing this task forever. So they may not ask the necessary questions to learn that information. So you've got these two conflicting issues. You've got a subject matter expert who doesn't even think that this information is important enough to tell because it's so fundamental and obvious, while the learner is afraid to ask for that fundamental information. Would you say that that's a problem, and how could someone resolve that?
That's definitely a common issue. The fear of appearing uninformed can prevent learners from asking essential questions. One way to address this is by creating a psychologically safe environment where questions are encouraged and no question is considered too basic. For the expert, it's crucial to be mindful and empathetic, recognizing that their common sense might not be common for everyone. Building this kind of open communication can bridge the gap and make learning more effective.
Now, because sometimes it's very difficult for a learner or to identify when a subject matter expert is suffering from the curse of knowledge. What tips do you have for people that are learning a new skill and talking with somebody who's trying to share this information with them? What tips do you have for the learner to identify when very important and relevant information is being skipped?
One tip for learners is to watch for moments when explanations seem to jump ahead or assume prior knowledge. If something feels unclear or skipped over, it's a sign. They should feel empowered to ask clarifying questions and seek examples. Additionally, if the expert uses a lot of jargon or acronyms, that's another indicator. It's always okay to ask for definitions and context. Building a habit of asking, "Can you explain that a bit more?" can be very helpful.
Yeah, and I think on the other side too, if you are somebody that is sharing information with someone, you should be assessing their understanding of what you just told them. There's that old adage, if you're going to share information, you should tell somebody what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you just told them. I want to add another onto that. Have them tell you what you just told them to make sure that they fully understand. Would you agree that that's a good way of going about it as well, from the perspective of a subject matter expert or somebody that knows how to do the task?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic approach. It reinforces understanding by closing the communication loop. By having the learner explain back what they've understood, you ensure clarity and catch any gaps or misunderstandings. It also builds confidence and reinforces learning, making the process more interactive and engaging. It's a great practice for anyone sharing knowledge.
And you spoke of confidence, and that is extremely important, because if you're trying to learn something from someone and you feel like a lot of information is being skipped or you're falling behind, have the confidence, try to muster that confidence to ask those questions that may make you look foolish, but it's often, or I say it's like the obvious remains unseen, the hidden is eventually found. These questions sometimes feel obvious to the subject matter expert, so you need to really pull them out, but they're hidden to you. So you need to pull them out, ask the question, and the subject matter expert is like, well, that should be obvious, but still stand behind that. be confident, like, listen, it may be obvious to you. I don't understand. It's completely hidden to me. So please reveal it. Let me know that information. And it has a lot to do with being confident about asking questions and knowing what you don't know and being okay with that. Be okay. I remember I was working with my team and we were developing enabling learning objectives. Okay. And this is, I know it may be a kind of foreign term, suffering from the curse of knowledge myself sometimes. And that's an important thing to note too, that we all suffer from this curse of knowledge. But we were talking about enabling learning objectives, and that is a fundamental part of instructional design. We have to establish learning objectives when we're developing these materials. And so I use this term, enabling learning objectives, in this meeting, and then one of my team members suddenly used the term ELO. And I never really thought, it may be absurd, maybe one of those obvious things, but I never fully associated the term enabling learning objective with the acronym, with the initialization of ELO. And so when he said that, I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? So it's kind of a funny, and made me look a little silly because I didn't understand what he meant by ELO. I was thinking of there's a few other ELO abbreviations out there. So that was that situation. It impacts all of us, even somebody that has been working in the field of instructional design for nearly 10 years. Even I suffer from it. So yes, do not feel like you need to hide the fact that you don't know something when dealing with a subject matter expert. Ask those questions, no matter how silly they may be, because at the end, what's really important is the knowledge transfer, the competency and the competency transfer, being able to do the task, because you certainly do not want to say you know how to do something when you don't, and it's proven when you're actually trying to do the task. Get those questions answered in that environment in which you are learning. And to subject matter experts and trainers, instructors out there, allow your learners to make silly mistakes and silly questions. That is the time in which you should be making mistakes, because we learn very well by making mistakes. So if we do that in a safe environment, a safe learning environment, and don't put too much pressure on the learner to get it right the first time, that's okay. That's the best way to do it. Best way to do it, because it's better to make mistakes in the classroom than it is to make mistakes out in the field. So would you agree, ChatGPT?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Creating a safe learning environment where mistakes are embraced as part of the learning process is crucial. Encouraging questions, no matter how basic they might seem, ensures thorough understanding and builds confidence. Making mistakes and asking questions are integral to the learning journey. It's all about fostering an atmosphere where learners feel comfortable to explore, make mistakes, and ultimately grow. It's a collaborative effort that leads to success.
All right. Well, thank you all very much, and thank you, ChatGPT, for joining in the discussion today. We may do this some more. This is fun. I like having somebody to chat with here, and as we go forward, I'll probably create some more interactions with ChatGPT and other chatbots in these videos. So everybody, I hope you gained something from this tonight. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time.